Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Game and Went. I am your host, Craig Cobra, and I'm joined this week by one of my very good friends, Mr. Colin Mossybeard Wilson. Colin, how are you, bud?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm doing well. I made this very big curry, potato, and turkey pie.
I saw that.
And I ate a lot of it, and it's very filling, and I just kind of want to take a nap.
And you sent me a picture of it. It looked delicious.
Yeah, bud. It was excellent. And I saw you guys made crab rangoon. Are you kidding me?
We did. We had a crab stick that we used for sushi months ago, and it was expiring literally today. So I was like, oh shit, we got to use this. And we had cream cheese. So we're like, let's just make some. And we did it. And it was great.
That sounds excellent. It was good?
They were real tasty, yeah.
Oh, dude, I love crab rangoon. I'll never forget the first time I had it. And you guys made the dough from scratch too, which I think is very impressive.
Yeah, first time making wonton wrappers from scratch.
Hell yeah, we're a couple of dinner boys.
We are. And then I made some kombucha. I made the next batch of booch that I'm making. So it's going to be apple spice, I think. So it's going to be super good.
Dude, that sounds very good.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are very good in the kitchen. It was a big kitchen day for the two of us.
It really was. It was.
You been playing any fun games lately, my dude?
Dude, I actually downloaded a bunch. I downloaded 5 games last night.
Oh my god! Why?
So I have a bunch of games coming up. Well, the Nintendo Switch sale ended today. The Black Friday 20. They had games.
Oh shoot! I missed.
They had games that were 90% off.
That's
so
nuts.
I was like, okay, $5 for Unravel 2. I'm into it. There's a game called Moonlighter. It's basically like a Zelda game, but you own a shop also.
Huh.
And then Bastion and that other one they do.
Oh, Transistor?
Yeah.
Oh, Bastion and Transistor are incredible games, man. Have you not played Bastion before?
No, I hadn't.
Oh my god, Bastion is a remarkable achievement in storytelling in a game.
Both of them for less than $5.
Yeah, bud. You got some good games to look forward to.
I got some good games. Other than that, I've just been playing Dead Cells.
I mean, what else is new?
What about you?
I've been spending a lot of time playing Pokemon Sword version, which I have still been enjoying. And I've been playing a lot of League of Legends lately, man. I got really back into a big League of Legends kick this past
really?
2 months. Oh, yeah.
Damn. I had no idea.
I mean, I've been playing on and off for a decade, and then as soon as I get out of it, and it's been 6 months, I'll be like, you know what, I don't really ever see myself playing League again, and I'll play one game, and it'll just be right back to it, and I'll be playing 5 games a day.
And then you're hooked again.
Yeah, it might be bad. I've spent a lot of money on that game, but I do enjoy it.
Wait, you have to spend money on that game?
You can, to buy skins and stuff.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But enough about those new games, the newfangled contraptions. We're not talking about those today. We're here to talk about a true gaming classic. We're here to talk about Super Mario World.
Oh, yeah.
Colin, how old were you when you played Super Mario World for the first time?
See, I was thinking about this today because I wasn't sure. It came out way before I thought it came out initially. But the most memorable memory I have, of playing this game was listening to No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom album, which came out in 98. 95. And I want to say I was somewhere between 6 and 8 when I first played it, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you gave yourself some range there. Between 6 and...
Between 6? 8. Well, my memory is absolutely garbage. So.
No, that's fine. You actually played it on the Super Nintendo, though, right?
Oh, yeah. We played it OG. My brother and sister and I would pass the controller around and be probably about as shitty as I am today.
Yeah. We have discovered this game was surprisingly difficult.
It's hard to just pick back up and be good at.
Yeah. There's a very high skill cap, for sure. But yeah, we're talking this week about Super Mario World, which is a title created by Nintendo, of course, for the Super Nintendo. The game came out in Japan in 1990, we found out, and then almost 10 months later, it came out in August 1991 in the United States.
Which is crazy. That's so much earlier than I thought it was.
That's before I was born.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was born in 1992, so Super Mario World is a game older than I am.
It's older than you.
That's pretty impressive, I think, especially considering how great it is. It was produced by Shigeru Miyamoto, a classic in Nintendo. We'll be talking about him a lot, I'm sure, on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The director was Takashi Tezuka, who's not a name I'm actually familiar with. I might have to do a little looking into him when we wrap things up here. And, of course, the music done by the legendary Koji Kondo.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent score. We've got a lot to talk about there, but everybody heard the overworld background music as we were getting things started here. So in Super Mario World, Mario and Luigi have left the Mushroom Kingdom. They find themselves in Dinosaur Land, and true to Mario nature, Bowser is up to no good. So Mario, obliged by being the goodest boy in the world, is on his quest to rescue Yoshi, Peach, and all of Yoshi's friends from Bowser's evil clutches as he and his Koopalings try to take over Dinosaur Land. Mario adventures across Dinosaur Land and its delicious food-based regions to face the Koopa King and save the day. And it's a wonderful little journey. I mean, you go from, what's the first place, like Donut Land to Vanilla Dome? Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I love it.
Yeah. Well, you start off at Yoshi's Island, I think, which is just like generic. But yeah, you go into these food-based things, which I didn't realize till much later in my life that they're all like chocolate and vanilla and like, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's weird is that you don't see, like, there's no, like, food-based things in the background. The mountains aren't, like, upside-down ice cream cones.
I mean, the chocolate land is a little like the ground is brown, right? In the overworld and like on the levels too.
Colin, I got bad news. I didn't make it to Chocolate Land on my playthrough recently.
You really didn't, did you? I just barely made it last night when I was playing on stream.
I'll let you take the forefront on talking about that.
I didn't play any today though. I didn't get past that. I was being a bum today.
Oh man, I booted it up today to play a little bit just to do some more research, and I got to the end of Vanilla Dome in the castle, and I just got absolutely tilted off, and so I put the game down and I just watched a couple of videos about it. But you said you were what, 6 or 7, and your siblings and you sat around the TV and passed the controller around like a good traditional American family.
Like a good wholesome,
Yeah, I love that, dude. You know, I didn't actually play the Super Nintendo version. I never had a Super Nintendo in my entire life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My folks, I think I talked about this on the last episode too. My folks had like a regular Nintendo, and then when I turned, I think I was like 7 or 8 when the Nintendo 64 came out. I got a Nintendo 64 that year for my birthday, and then I went straight to that one.
Okay. So you just skipped the Super, yeah.
Yeah, completely. And what was kind of funny is when I went to Blockbuster, I'd try to rent Super Nintendo games, not knowing that they wouldn't work on my like old Nintendo.
Oh no.
Yeah, so, luckily they let me take it back to Blockbuster and exchange it the same day.
But you played Mario on the NES, right? You played that.
Yeah, I played the original Mario and
Did you play all 3?
Super Mario Bros. 2. I did not play Super Mario Bros. 3. I still to this day have not played Super Mario Bros. 3.
Okay. So this game, I didn't realize this until today when I did a little more research. It borrowed so much from 3.
Yeah.
Like they started with 3 and kind of developed things and changed a little bit here and there at a time, and like playtesters would play it and be like, it's still kind of like 3, and they would like take it back and do more things to it and change it up more and more. We'll talk about that later, but they borrowed a lot from that game, which I didn't realize.
It definitely feels like the natural sequel to Super Mario Bros. 3, the same way Super Mario Bros. 3 feels like a pretty big step up to Super Mario Bros. 1 and then 2, which is known as the Lost Levels in America. But yeah, the first time I played this was on the Game Boy Advance, actually.
Oh, okay.
And when I was 12, I was in middle school, and I think that was around the time that it was like Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2. Around the time that had come out, there was a day when we all went to school, and as soon as we got there, a pipe had burst in some part of the school, and so there was this big flood, and we all had to go home. So everybody piles into the gym because we're waiting for the buses to come back to take us all home. And I'm sitting there and I have my Game Boy in my backpack, and my friend's like, oh, I just beat this game. Do you want to borrow it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I sat there in the gym for 2 hours playing Mario while the buses turned around, and then I went home and I played it for the rest of my entire day.
That's awesome.
It was excellent. It was just one of those perfect serendipitous childhood moments where it's surprise day off from school. What are you going to do? Play some video games. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, man. And it was just this wonderful little adventure, I had only played the previous Mario game, the first one, and so it was just so different and so much more. And when you're a kid, you could, somebody could hand me any game from any time, and with my little child brain, I would appreciate it for what it was, because I didn't have that pretentiousness and taste that I do now.
And going from going from just Super Mario Bros. On the NES to Super Mario Bros., that is a huge leap. That's like going from Pokemon Blue to Pokemon Sapphire. That's such a huge leap in more things that you can do, and the colors and graphics and everything. That's great.
Yeah, it was a pretty big leap, and I love that analogy because Super Mario Bros. 1 and Super Mario Bros. 3 were so different. I think of very similarly to how Pokemon Red and Blue and Pokemon Gold and Silver were different.
Yeah.
You had a lot of the same things, but they've just added in a lot more.
But that was gradual though, yeah.
And earlier you were talking about earlier, like a minute ago, you were talking about how Super Mario World feels a lot like Super Mario Bros. 3. Now, I haven't played Super Mario Bros. 3, but I've seen enough gameplay of it to kind of have some opinions. And the things that I notice is that in these games, I think that Super Mario Bros. 3 in particular, there's a lot of like overlapping platforms. Like in Super Mario Bros. 3, it was those boxes with the screws in the corner, and they would have like one big one in the background, and then a smaller one like a little bit forward, and then another smaller one in front of that, and those would be like the platforms that you jump on.
Yeah, they did a lot of that to like add depth to the game for sure.
Yeah, you see a lot of that too in Super Mario World, where it's not necessarily boxes, but trees or I don't know, ground platforms. I don't know what you'd call those, you know.
Yeah, a lot of layering stuff like that.
Yeah, like ledges and cliffs. What stuck out to you about this game, like the first time you played it? What caught your attention in like that profound, like, I know this is a great game way?
Honestly, like, so we talked about how hard it is to get back into it, but compared to what we were playing, because we were playing the NES, and like compared to just Super Mario Bros, where we would get just absolutely trounced, because like that game is brutally difficult for me. Like you die and you go back to the start. It was just like easy to pick up, and like you could actually save, so it was like a progression. Like you could get there, you know. And as a like 7-year-old or whatever I was, obviously all the colors and stuff. The color palette was another thing that they talked about during development that they changed pretty dramatically from Super Mario Bros. 3. That all just drew me in, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to the story at all. I didn't know it took place in a different even place, like Dino Land. I had no idea about until you mentioned it last night. There was just so much that I ignored, but the gameplay is just so smooth, and it was just very good, and the music too was fantastic.
It feels very polished, as I think a lot of Nintendo titles do. It had this sort of feel about, it was familiar, but like the next best thing. It reminds me very much of when you opened up Super Mario 64 for the first time, and it's like, this is Mario.
Oh, yeah.
And it's familiar, but like, check out how new and shiny this is.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to talk about the first level, because I definitely had forgotten this, but Nintendo does a great job of like introducing you to the new things about a game very early on. When you play a new Pokemon game, they make sure the first area is filled with new Pokemon. When you play a Zelda game, you very early get like a new upgrade, something that you haven't seen in a previous game. And in this game, the very first level that's not like Yoshi's house, you start off in the first area, and there's a ramp with a little Koopa in underwear or something sliding down. He doesn't have a shell, and he just dies immediately as soon as you walk into him. And there's a flying question mark box just floating through the air on a track. And then, of all things, a tremendous bullet bill just shoots from off screen. And it killed me like the first 3 times I tried to play the level. I gotta come clean. I jumped into it all 3 times.
You mean recently, or when you were 12, or recently?
Oh, we're talking the other day.
Oh.
Like, I didn't learn. I was like, I should try to jump on it, but then it just kept shooting me.
Yeah, yeah.
So
they do a good job of introducing things like that, but it does scale up too, right? So like you get those concepts early of the different things and different like ways that enemies can kill you or whatever. And then like it just gets more and more complicated, and then you're like jumping from platform to platform that's running along a track, avoiding these like saws that are flying at you and shit. Like it just gets crazy. Like it's great toward the end of the game, that is.
Yeah, they do a great job of having almost different mechanics for every level. Even going further into the Vanilla Dome, there was a level where you have to use a P-switch to create platforms to jump across. And then there's another one that's like a underwater, and so you float under there. And in the next one, you're on a moving track, and you have to like stay on the platform as it moves, or else you'll fall into lava.
Right.
Every level has its very own characteristics, but they seem thematically similar, which is, I think, excellent like level design.
Oh yeah, and it just helps build the world. Like it feels like it's been like lived in. Each biome is like its own self-contained thing, because that only those enemies are in that place, or it just feels like a like fully fleshed out world that they've made. Yeah,
they really did jam pack it with their visions and such. And something that was completely mental to me is that there's like secret and alternate exits in these levels. You totally styled upon me last night when you were streaming how in the first ghost house in Donut Plains, there's just a secret exit that I never knew about that takes you to a top secret area.
Yeah, it's right above you. You don't even know it. Yeah. So that was the way that we played as kids. Like we would find, because they tease these things, right? There's a keyhole and you don't see the key and you can't get it until later because there's like the outline of the blocks missing.
Right.
Of the certain colors. I think there's 4 different colors. But they tease these little things, these little alternate ways to end the level, and you have to go back to them later. But you always keep it in your mind. You're like, oh, got to go back to that place, and because there's a blue block missing there, and it'll help me get up to the alternate ending and whatever that leads me to. You know,
it's very exciting. Previously in
Yeah.
Mario games, you just kind of do the level and move on. Even in Super Mario Bros. 3, where there was the overworld, it's like once you completed the level, you had no reason to go back to that one.
yeah, exactly. In the overworld, each little like blinking thing, all the yellow ones have one exit, and then all the blinking red and yellow ones, they like blink red also. Those are the ones with 2 exits.
Are you
So
kidding
gotta,
me?
No, I just found that out like the other day.
Oh my god, I have to go back and play more of this then. That's so rich. I didn't even know that.
There's so more. Yeah, so there's that's how you get the switches, the little colored switches. They're all alternate endings.
So the game like tells you where to go to get into the secret areas.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Oh, that's just delightful. I love
But you
that
gotta find
so
them within the
much.
plate. Sometimes it's just like a tube that you go down, and then there's a switch and a thing. But you need the feather. You need the cape,
Right. Now,
which we'll talk about the feather cape a little bit.
let's talk about the feather cape.
Man, that thing makes you feel powerful. Not only is it just like a weapon that you can spin around and like hit things, but you can spin. You do the spin jump, and break the little flip blocks
Yeah, the
underneath
blocks
you.
with the eyeballs looking things.
Yeah. I think they're flip blocks or whatever they're called. But you can break those if you're standing on them. You can fly with it. You can just hold down B or whatever it is, and then run fast and jump and fly. You can skip whole levels.
Yeah, which I watched you do.
Yeah, and I almost wish that wasn't so powerful.
It kind of reminds me of the P-Wing from Super Mario Bros. 3 too. Like, you just get this ability and you hit the button and all of a sudden you just skip the level. Like, what's the point then?
Yeah, see, I never played enough of that to know what that even is.
Oh, it's literally like a power-up that you got as a bonus, I think. And if you hit it, it would just like launch you into the sky and you'd just fly over the level.
Just skip it.
Yeah, at least with the cape in Super Mario World, there involves a bit of skill. Like, I'm honestly very terrible at... Honestly, I'm very terrible at this whole game. But for this specific example, I have so much trouble flying the cape. I find myself like crashing into the ground or not like lifting up enough. And so instead of going up again, I just kind of slowly fall.
Yeah.
But did you know that if you crash into the ground, it like flips over enemies?
Oh yeah, it's like a ground pound thing.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? There's so much to the cape.
The cape is so versatile. Like, it's so powerful. Like, it makes just spitting out fireballs just dumb.
Yeah, it's iconic.
It's the thing that you want every time.
I feel like every Mario game has some upgrade that they introduce that's like super fun and super cool, and then they just get rid of it. Like the cat suit in Super Mario 3D World. I don't know if you played that one.
Yeah,
that was so wonderful, and I don't expect we're going to see that again. We certainly didn't see it in Odyssey.
I mean, you saw it in Super Mario Maker, but that's because you could just make levels with it. But yeah,
Oh, I didn't play that.
that was really good. You should definitely play it.
Well, after playing Super Mario World, I might have to get into Mario Maker because I'm kind of enjoying slowly getting better at this game. How have we gone this long without talking about the true star of this game, the true protagonist?
Is it the music?
No, it's Yoshi!
Oh, okay. Yoshi. Oh my God. Yes.
Yoshi, man. You meet him you first show up at his house, and it's like, hi, this is Yoshi's house. I'm not home. I'm out saving my buddies. Please help. And then in the second level, you crack open a mystery box, and there's just an egg inside of it, and boom, it's Yoshi.
That's another thing. So like Yoshi, I don't know what's better, having the cape or Yoshi.
Yoshi's excellent as a power-up, but the cape gives you a little more freedom, I think, because the cape lets you like fly over enemies, it gives you an attack, and Yoshi does save you from...
He gives you that extra hit.
Gives you an extra hit, and then you can get him back, too, so it's not like you
Oh,
lose
yeah,
it
yeah.
immediately. But you don't have quite as much mobility on Yoshi. You don't get the ability to like jump up or fall slower.
But you can eat stuff.
Oh my god, you can eat everything.
He can jump on spiky dudes, like anything that like would normally hurt you. Those little like black plants that like they get the little mouth they get their little mouths are biting. He can just walk across those, and it's great.
Can he really? I didn't know that.
You just feel invincible. Yeah, it's awesome.
I do know that he eats damn everything, man. I was surprised that he ate the cactus monster. I was like, Yoshi, what do you got going on?
He's got 5 stomachs, baby.
Jeez, and they're all made out of gunmetal.
Yep. And the noise that happens when he jumps on enemies is one of the most satisfying things in the game.
I don't know if I can get that. I would love to edit that in right now, but can you give us like your best impression of it?
God, no. It's like, well, it's like a... No, I can't.
I'm gonna need you to try it.
It's like... There's a little... Because there's a little like noise that happens too. It's like...
Yeah.
Bling. It's like... Bling. You can edit all of that out, by the way.
I think we get it. Thank you for that gift.
But talking about Yoshi... This is a good segue back into the sound. I want to talk about the sound design of the game.
Let's talk about the sound design of the game. So
It's very good.
We opened up on the wonderful overworld background music, which is the first song you play. Shout out to the Koji Kondo hook, too. I don't know if you're familiar with that concept, are you?
I'm not, no.
So in all of Koji Kondo's music, for the most part, especially with the Mario games, every song has kind of like a little chime at the beginning or a little tune at the beginning that leads you into the song. In this one, it's that do 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 do. In the original Mario Bros, it's I forget what it sounds like, but there's just like a little... Yes, that's the one, and it's not present in the song, but it's there right at the beginning. It's called the Koji Kondo hook, and it's always like really catchy, and then it leads you right into the music, which is always very like uplifting and fun. And that's my favorite part about Mario music, is that it's just so whimsical and fun.
All the music is just so good. Like Vanilla Dome, I think you have that clip at the ready. I think that's the first.
Absolutely.
That's the first memorable song that stuck with me for years after I played the game. That just like when I played the game again, like after like it had been a couple years, and I heard that song, I'm like, oh, like fuck yeah, like this is the stuff I'm subscribing for. Like this is it.
Let's let our listeners get a little taste of the Vanilla Dome soundtrack right here. You're just going along in Donut Land, which has this nice like little upbeat tune to it. It's very simple. And then you go into this cave, and you've got like an 80s style bop.
I mean, yeah, well, the game was made in, what, 87, I think they started development?
Yeah, it was definitely started to develop in the late 80s when that sort of like heavy D&B bass music was like a very big thing.
Right, and that definitely shows a little bit.
Can I throw in a little quick Easter egg here that I absolutely love?
Please do.
So, I don't know if Easter egg is the right term, but the special world that you can access, which is beyond Star Road.
The tubular place, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. All the levels are named after like slang for cool. And so you've got the levels, the 8 of them are gnarly, tubular, way cool, awesome, groovy, mondo, outrageous, and funky.
I never got past tubular, honestly.
Really?
I might have back in the day and just forgotten about it, but oh my god, are those levels hard. You think the normal levels are hard? These are like the levels that you worked to get. Because not only do you have to find the alternate Star Road area, but you have to find the alternate like route out of each of those levels.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. And then you have to get to the center point, and then you go from there to the 8 levels.
When I played this game as a kid, and there's a lot of things, I played this game half my lifetime ago, or over that now, I somehow managed to find my way to Star Road, and I totally went to the Special Zone, and I remember beating the Special Zone, or at least I remember beating, I might not have actually, but yeah, the levels are very fun. They're all like very gimmicky, and that's where you find like the flying Yoshi that automatically spits fire every time rather than having to eat the red shell.
Right.
Yeah, the Special Zone was very cool, and it was always it's like a nice include by Nintendo to give something secret that's a little more challenging for the fans who want to get there. I love those kinds of designs.
For sure. And if you beat all 8, you start again. You start back at the beginning, right? I don't know if you knew that.
You do, but what's nice is that the environment changes. Like, I had to look this up today. If you beat the game, it transitions from, like, spring or summer to autumn in the game world.
Yeah, there's, like, little pumpkins and, like, things are replaced with, like, Mario's head and, like, just weird little goofy things that are kind of nice.
Yeah, it's cute and fun, and I like it a lot.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It's a neat little change. So besides the Vanilla Dome song, what other music really stood out to you?
Well, not so much whole songs, other than like Vanilla Dome, but there's certain sound effects that have just stuck with me. When you jump on the little skeleton Koopas, I don't know if it's dry bones officially. The little skeleton guys that are sometimes in the castles.
That would later become known as dry bones, for sure.
Yeah. That sound effect, I don't know if you know it or can pull it up or play it.
If I can, I will make sure to edit them in. But in the meantime, I know it's that kind of like do sound.
Yeah, it's like it's just like it's so sad. It's just so satisfying.
Yeah, it's really excellent. There's something, and that's a great way to put it, is satisfying, I think. A lot of the things that happen in these Mario games are very satisfying.
Well, I just want to go back to the music real quick.
Okay.
The castle music. We gotta talk about that.
Oh, the castle music is amazing.
It like inspires dread.
Yeah, it's like so spooky, and it has the same sort of musical theme that but even spookier. Yeah, exactly. It has that.
Yeah,
it has that
it's so
progression, but a lot more slow and menacing, and like in that minor key that makes it much more spookier. And I'll tell you what, why don't we edit some in right here so that everybody can have a listen themselves.
Nice.
Definitely leaving that nice in here.
Nice.
Yeah. I gotta say, the castle was a fun time too. The very first one, when you're introduced to like the cage that you climb on, and how you can like smack the cage to knock the Koopas off of it.
Yeah, that's also like a concept that we're like, whoa, okay, you can just crawl on these, I guess. Or like climb up them. That's awesome. And punch Koopas.
Yeah, and then you flip around and all of a sudden you're like on another plane.
Yeah, you gotta switch to the other side.
I think this game is amazing. The concepts that they used in upgrading from Super Mario Bros. 3, like, you have like a plane now. You have 3 dimensions of Mario.
And they added like the rising and falling water. Those levels are super good too. They're very difficult, and they add it adds another layer to it.
I don't think I ever made it to one of those. Can you talk about that for a sec?
It might be one of the bonus ones. But I just remember seeing there was like a Koopa that was underwater. The water level would be rising, and you would have to get to a certain point and get to that platform. And we haven't talked about like the game as itself is just like the platform genre and what it's done for other games, right?
No, we have not done that yet.
Do you want to go into that?
Absolutely.
Because it's so good.
I have always been a really big fan of platforming games. I loved Sonic the Hedgehog games as a kid. I loved the Mario games, of course. There were so many platformers back in the day, like especially around the NES, Super Nintendo era. I remember playing this game like Felix the Cat, which was just an incidental platformer. And there was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles platformer. There was just so many platformer games. And so you had these games like Mario that I think defined the genre. These are the first ones that came out and started to do really cool new things. We already talked about how this one introduced in the very first level slopes, which is something that we had never seen before in a Mario game, and I'm pretty sure we haven't seen before outside of like Sonic the Hedgehog too.
So you did say that, and I did see a video today of footage from 3 that did have a slope. I'm sorry.
Did it really?
Yeah, you might want to edit that part out.
Okay, I mean, I'll probably keep it in and just be willing to be wrong about it.
I didn't play a lot of that game, but there was a little clip that I saw. I was like, oh, there are slopes in that game. But yeah, the fact that you could like slide down little slopes and just like introduce this new concept.
Yeah, you like put your feet out in front of you and just like kick dudes out of the way. And apparently it's like the most powerful attack in the game. I don't think there are any slopes present, but somebody found in Super Mario Maker that if you go down a slope, you can actually kick King Boo and kill him.
There's slopes.
In the ghost houses, though, I mean.
Oh, okay, in the ghost houses.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if there was a slope in the ghost house, you'd be able to knock over King Boo or the Big Boos or whatever they were.
Gotcha.
Isn't that cool?
That's awesome, yeah. I think slopes were introduced, so before you even start the game, that little the file select screen.
Yeah.
If you just watch that, it'll show you so much of the things you can do in the game. That's another thing I noticed the other day. It was like it'll show you like chaining together hits with the Koopa shield, like boop, 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 like knocking a bunch of like, and I think there's a little bit of slopage in there as well.
Yeah.
But it's just a cool little tutorial before the game even starts that you're just watching, and you don't play through it. You just watch it happen.
That is really cool to mention, actually. And it reminds me back in Super Mario Bros. 1, where if you stayed on the start screen, Mario would just run off and like leave behind the select screen and just start
does his
playing
own
the
thing.
level until he died at some point later in the level. But yeah, it kind of shows you how to play and like what you're supposed to do, especially with all these more complicated mechanics now.
Yeah, it's pretty smart
It's
way to do it.
very neat. I think that one of the things that I am very frustrated about with this game, but I don't think is a game problem, is momentum. Something that drives me nuts in a video game is when you move and then you jump and like you lose the momentum of your jumps.
You lose that like that flow state.
And there are games that kind of capitalize on that. I don't know if you ever played the original Castlevania games.
Oh, way back in the day.
In those, you couldn't like change your direction after you jumped.
Oh, okay.
But in Mario, thank God you can, because it makes the game so much easier. But you can't, like, when you're running, if you just let go of the control pad, you don't just stop. You do kind of like slow down a little bit. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. He like kind of slows and then stops.
Yeah, it makes the game very challenging because you kind of have to be really on top of it, or what ends up happening to me is I'll overcorrect a lot. I'll like jump into the air and like try to move to the right to hit a platform, but then I'll overshoot it a little bit, and so then I'll have to like steer back, but I'll completely miss, and then I will jump into some pit or into a fireball or something.
Right into the lava. Yeah, I feel you. That's definitely a thing. That was, I mean, Luigi had that in was it Super Mario 2 when you could like do the character select thing? That was like Luigi's thing, was like the slippery feet.
Oh yeah.
So that like trained me for this game.
Playing on a hard mode, huh?
I played so much of Super Mario 2 back in the day. That was so good.
I'm gonna definitely have to bring you back for an episode based on that then, because I played a ton of that game too, man.
Well, I wasn't good at it, but I did play a lot of it.
I mean, neither was I. I don't even think I ever beat the game. There were so many games as a kid that I played and never beat.
Oh yeah, same. That I want to revisit and maybe beat someday.
But you know what? I actually did beat Super Mario World back in the day. I very clearly remember the final boss fight.
Nice. I do want to talk about Bowser, but back to the flow state thing.
Sure.
Because you were talking about like just the rhythm of the levels. Like you can progress through the levels just super easily if you like time it right. I feel like they designed the levels so that like they put like a flying Koopa there, or like, and there's just like enemies, so you can like kind of platform off them if you want, and you can just bounce and bounce and it just like feels so good, and like to get that flow going and then have it. Other games will like have it stop. This game just lets you do whatever.
Yeah.
If you time your jumps right, you can just blast through levels pretty quickly.
Do you remember what you said yesterday on stream when you were playing?
Probably not, no.
About holding down the B button?
Oh, yeah. Because that's a thing. You gotta hold down that B button.
I don't want to play any platformer that I have to like stop and like plan out my movements. I just want to be able to hold right and sprint, and then I just want to have to worry about when I'm jumping. Those are like the best kind of platformers to me.
And there are levels, I mean, the ones that are like on rails where you're just like going through a thing. You just stand on a platform or whatever, and it's like the level moves you through it.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones with the backgrounds that are all crazy, but those definitely have a different feel to them because of that. You don't have that autonomy to go through the level at your own pace, you know?
Yeah, and they kind of instill you with a sort of anxiety too, because those are the only levels where you lose the control to go through it at your own pace.
Oh, for sure.
And the environment stifles you. I think that's brilliant to introduce so few of those in the game that you're normally just blazing through at your own pace.
Oh yeah, and you know they designed it so that like this enemy's gonna appear and then a saw blade comes and then you have to like thread the needle or whatever. Like they definitely put some time into these levels.
Yeah, I love the ones where you go through it. Like this happened to me today actually, and there's that Vanilla Dome level where you have to hop on the skull platforms and then they start moving underneath you, and sometimes you have to like jump off of them onto a platform and then hop back on the skull platform.
Yeah.
So there was one where there's a whole bunch of pipes and you jump off the moving skull raft, we'll call it, and you have to get through a bunch of little piranha plants coming down from pipes. And so I was up there and I was like, oh shoot, there's 5 pipes here. I bet one of them leads to like a secret zone. So I tried all of the pipes, and then by the time I went to go check the platform, it was gone. And so I died because I got distracted.
You missed the boat.
I missed the boat.
That's funny.
Yeah, man, them clever sons of bitches who made this game.
Yeah, it's really good level design. All right, is it time to talk about Bowser?
Oh, it's time to talk about Bowser.
Well, let's talk about you want to talk about the mini bosses?
Now I want to talk about Bowser. It's
I want
time
to talk
to
about
talk about Bowser.
Okay.
Bowser was an iconic fight.
It really is, yeah. just in that giant terrifying clown car
I know,
thing.
right? You're just going through the game fighting regular little Koopa things, and then all of a sudden Bowser shows up and he's got this terrifying spooky clown hovercraft.
Yeah, it's like the clown propeller car. If you don't know what we're talking about, definitely look up a picture of Super Mario World boss.
Yeah, like Google Super Mario World final boss and make sure you're sitting down.
Yeah, and then he threw these little traps out, the little wind up little lions. I don't even know what they are.
I think they're just like little, like they're almost dragons. Yeah, I don't quite know what they are. They're like wind up. I think they were called Mecha Koopas, maybe?
Sure, let's go with that.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, but you had to hit those and then throw them back up to him to hit him, and it was a fairly skill-intensive thing because throwing things directly above you was a new concept that was introduced that is super helpful in the levels, which you didn't apparently know. Yeah, you said last night, you're like, did you throw that up?
I was watching Colin stream this game, and he threw a Koopa shell up to hit a block above him, and I was dumbfounded. I didn't know you could throw things up.
There's no way you could have beaten the game but also not known that was a thing.
I must have known at one point.
I should hope so.
Age has not done me well.
Super satisfying boss fight. Very skill intensive.
It was also very spooky. Like, we talked about how this game is kind of whimsical and fun, but there was weight to the final Bowser fight. The sky was pitch black.
Oh, for sure. And there's like lightning and stuff, right?
Yeah, as the fight goes on, there's more lightning, and Peach, like, climbs out of it, and she's, like, screaming for her life, and it even has a little speech bubble above her that says help, as she flails. Like, it's spooky.
That doesn't help the situation. That's scary, yeah.
Yeah. And that leads into, you talked a lot about the color, and I've noticed, I think for the first time playing it just this week, I know that Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, was known for its like very, very like crayon-based palette. Have you seen that game?
I didn't play any of that game.
It's got a very interesting color palette that's like, it looks like it was drawn by crayon. Like it's got a very hand-drawn feel to it.
Okay.
And there's a lot of that in Super Mario World too. Well, Super Mario World as well. I'll like be looking at a color thing, and then all of a sudden it looks like there's a little scribbled in shading or something. It's just like the way that they paired the color with almost the texture to the shadow or the shading. It's really interesting as far as creating the design.
Kind of like a precursor, where we're going to go with the next game.
And it was. And I think it's I didn't play that Yoshi game because I could go without Yoshi's, I think.
I don't know why I didn't play those games. Did you know they actually had plans to put a Yoshi-type character in 3, but like processing-wise, like they couldn't shake it, just wasn't powerful enough. When they got to the SNES, they were like, oh yeah, now we have the power to do this, let's just make the whole story around Yoshi, basically.
I kind of love that.
I guess Shigeru Miyamoto had like a hand-drawn picture of like Mario riding this dinosaur up on like above his desk for like 5 years or something.
I wonder why they chose dinosaurs of all things. The themes for Mario are buck wild. You've got like Mushroom Kingdom, Dinosaur Land.
There's a couple other dinosaurs in the game too, which is good. Like it makes them feel more like fleshed out. Like in the Choco Land, there's like these little fire-breathing dinosaurs, and
the first level has those ones that you jump on, and then they start tall, but then you jump on them, and then they become short.
Yeah, you crush their spines. Yeah, those guys.
Oh my god, that's dark. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Well, yeah, yep.
Oh, can I talk about something that drove me nuts playing this game?
Yeah, what's up?
So you have a power-up. So you say you get like the feather that gives you the cape. And then you collect another one. It like stores it in a box above you, right?
Yeah.
But unlike the previous Mario games, like in Mario 1, if you got a Fire Flower and then you got hit, did it turn you into Little Mario or did it just take away the Fire Flower?
I don't know. I think it turned you little?
God, maybe it did, but I hated like, I don't know, maybe I'm just used to different games where like they serve as like layered armor instead of, going back down to small. Because I feel like I'd get a cape, and then I'd get hit, and then I'd go back down to being small, and I'd have to just, like, find a mushroom.
No, you just lose the cape, don't you?
No, you go small. It's the same if you have the Fire Flower, too. You get hit, and you go down to being small again. There's no, like, mushroom in the middle. Yeah, right?
I just don't like how it replaces the thing automatically. If you pick up, like, a Fire Flower accidentally and you want that cape, it automatically replaces it. But I guess you press select and it drops it down from the top box. I don't know if you knew that.
I did, and there's like gotta be some demanded skill there where like you have the cape and then you have a cape backup and then you see a mushroom or something.
Yeah.
There were times too, and I'd have like a cape and I'd have a cape as backup, and then I'd pick up a fire flower and I'd be like, no, wait, I don't want this. And
Right,
then I'd have a
exactly.
fire flower and a cape instead.
Exactly.
I guess that's literally what you just said.
It is. I just wish I had a cape the whole time. That's all.
I think the game would be a lot easier if you had the cape.
Well, yeah, I guess.
The cape, you're killing me with all these Super Mario Bros. 3 references. Because the cape behaves so similarly to the Tanuki tail that you got in that game.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to
You
mention
spin
that
around
actually
and
earlier.
kill things, and then you fall more slower.
Yeah, that's a little raccoon guy, right?
Yeah, the little raccoon tail.
Yeah.
They brought back for Super Mario 3D World, which I loved.
And that's one of the that's like the flagship weird like power up for that game, right?
Yeah, talk about the flagship power up. I love that.
Yeah.
So, any elements of Super Mario World that you can like recognize in the games you're playing now? I'm gonna exclude Super Mario Maker, I think, from this topic.
That's fair. It's funny because it's a platformer, right? And I didn't realize this till the other day when I was playing Dead Cells. I was like, oh, this is Mario. Like, this is platforming at its finest, right? You're just like traversing through these levels based on platforms, and there's the like sewer below or whatever in Dead Cells. There's like, it's just Nintendo does such a good job at platformers that it just influenced that genre. Like they built the genre and just ran with it. And this game was like the first big stepping stone for that.
I always appreciate how Nintendo's creativity ripples out from the games that they release, showing these things. Like, just you talking now about the diverging routes and like alternate exits, you see that so much in games now, but I gotta think that this is one of the first games to do something like that, where you have branching paths.
Like a non-linear way to play through the game, yeah.
Absolutely. I think you said that when you were a kid, you just like skipped levels by going to the secret zones. Like, you might not have even played through all the original levels.
Yeah, the back like 3/4 of the game were, because we would go to the Star Road and then just get to the Bowser like corner of the star, and then just go to the castle, because there's a star right next to the castle, and you can just do that. And like that's how speedrunners do it in like less than 10 minutes.
I think I remember there being actually even a level called the back door, and it's like you go to it and it's like a much easier way to get in the castle than
That's
front
right.
way.
It was like in the front of the castle, right?
Well, it'd be in the back of the castle, hence back door.
Yeah, I just don't remember the overworld map too well.
Can I just say one more thing before we wrap things up here?
Sure.
I goddamn love how on the nose ghost houses are. How you just walk into this thing and it says right above the door in like shining letters, ghost house.
Ghost house. God, ghost houses are awful. I do not like. I wish that was a thing that was not in this game.
I think the ghost houses are one of the most interesting parts of the game, dog.
The ghosts are just so frustrating. Like, you have to just plan your every move and work around all these ghosts. And there was some cool, like, innovative ways to get through the levels, but man, are they just frustrating if you had a couple beers like I did last night.
Well, I think playing any game that involves skill after you've had a couple of beers might not be the best. But I loved how they sort of turned, I complained about not being able to just, hit sprint and hit right at the same time. But I loved that, like, when you went through some of the doors in the ghost house, it took you back to an earlier part of the level. I thought it made you think a little bit more. It got the gears turning. And I just loved the environment. They were very spooky. And I think the sunken ships, too, were a thing, weren't they?
Yes. Were those ghost houses?
They were similar.
They were like underwater ghost houses.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's just a very cool way of sort of flipping over, your run and jump and actually make you use your brain a little bit. It was cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man, there's so much to this game. Like, I wish that I had this enthusiasm before we recorded this, because now I want to go back and play a lot more of it.
I mean, you can. If you got Nintendo Online, you can just play it for free on the Switch.
Yeah, a little PSA. If you do have the Switch Online service, you can play this and a many other excellent Super Nintendo titles for free using the Nintendo Online service.
Also of note, you can just rewind time a little bit, a little Prince of Persia action, rewind time if you die. I've definitely abused that because this game is a little skill intensive at times.
I've been playing it on the Super Nintendo Mini because I never had a Super Nintendo. I wanted to play it kind of as close to the original as I could. And I would desperately love to have that feature. Holy smokes.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. Well, what are you up to for the rest of the night? You gonna play some any more games, or you got some games on your log here you're about to get into?
I might start Moonlighter, yeah. Well, I should really finish Red Dead Redemption 2. Jesus Christ, I've been playing that game for like a year and a half.
Man, that game's been out for a billion years, yeah.
Yeah, and I just I gotta get through it.
Thanks so much for joining me, my man. Always great to talk about games. Always great to talk with you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Likewise.
Do you want to give a little shout out to what you do part-time, your little stream?
Oh yeah, my little streaming. I wouldn't even call it as like a part-time anything. It's just a little hobby that I play video games and then found an audience. Like, found I wanted to play with my friends, so started streaming. But yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv/mossybeard, and I stream mostly Magic the Gathering, but I do play a little side goofy games sometimes. I'm trying to think of what the last game I played that wasn't Magic.
Well, Super Mario World.
Well, I guess, yeah, that was immediately last night, yeah. That wasn't Magic or podcast research. But
you play
yeah.
Jackbox every now and then, which is always a lot of fun. Cause then
Oh
we can
god,
get
that's so
involved.
fun. I still haven't played 6, but yeah, we gotta do that on stream sometime for sure.
Yeah. But you can follow Mossy at twitch.tv/mossybeard. And then I think your Twitter is at mossybeardgames.
Yeah, Mossy Beard Games, because Mossy Beard was taken, so. Also Mossy Beard on Instagram and pretty much everything else.
Be sure to give this man a follow on all platforms, and I can promise you'll be hearing from him again on this podcast. Colin, thanks so much for joining me, my man. Appreciate you coming by. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I know that there's been quite a gap between this episode and the first one. Had a little recording error and lost all the audio from an episode that I recorded with my friend Chris. We're going to be re-recording that soon and getting the next episode out shortly after this one, I hope. And then hopefully we're looking towards getting an episode out every other week from then forward for the foreseeable future. So once again, thank you so much for your patience. If you're listening to this on iTunes, please give us a review. It really helps get the name out there. If you're listening to this on Stitcher or Google Play or soon to be Spotify, I guess you can review them there as appropriate. But thank you so much. Please do not be afraid to give me a follow on Twitter. I am at GameAndWent. Not terribly complicated there. But thank you, my very good friends, for listening.
And thanks for having me.
Anytime, my very good man. And as always, don't forget to save.